Awesome. So, welcome to what is actually a very, very first segment, Inspire segment for the We Are Unlimited podcast, which is part of the League of Champions Free Success Coaching group. And the Inspire segment is all about like just putting a fire up your bum. You know, if you've got something that you want to create in the world, we want you to know that there's so much value in going out and doing it. And speaking of going out and doing it, I am so deeply honored and ridiculously excited to have Daeyna Jackson here on the show today. I connected with Daeyna a couple of months ago, probably now, and she has a very, very, very inspiring podcast called She's a Mess. And I'll let her tell you more about it and, you know, what her mission is. But firstly, Daeyna, welcome to the show today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. I'm even wearing my favorite panda onesie because it's super cold here. So I'm super, super excited.
Cool. So here, where is here?
Here is Japan. I live in a place called Hyogo. So I'm in Hyogo, Japan, and I've been in Japan for about 3.5 years, and I've been in Hyogo for about 1 year going on 2.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. So let's just dive right in. Give us your backstory. Like, you know, what brings us up to like today, speaking here, having a chat on the We Are Unlimited podcast?
Oh my gosh, my life has been a lifetime movie, but in reality. I have gone through so much in my very, very long but short life. I think it all started, I would say that my origin story, like any other superhero, my origin story was my divorce. In 2011, I married the then man of my dreams. I was a Christian, still a Christian, very pretty young, pretty active in church, and we met there and we got married. And then in 2013, we ended up getting a divorce because of a series of unfortunate and soul crushing events. So when I got my divorce in 2013, I spiraled into despair, depression, anxiety, becoming suicidal. I made just all the wrong decisions, and I was really on a fast track to completely ruining my life because I was just not myself. I was doing all the things that I never thought that I would ever be doing, looking for love in all the wrong places, and just basically completely ruining relationships, ruining every chance I thought I had at going to heaven and doing good things for God. And in 2016, when I was at the end of my rope, after being kicked out of my house, after having nowhere to go, I really wanted to change my life. And I applied for a program in Japan. And I basically left everything behind in Jamaica and moved to Japan. When I moved to Japan, I was still very much hurt. I was still very much a broken person. And in those 2 years that I was first here in Okinawa, God brought people in and out of my life that really helped me to heal from my pain and really understand that even though I had made all of these horrific decisions before, even though I had done all of these different things that were not very Christ-like, were not very good, he still had a plan for my life. And that conversation with God really led me to starting this whole podcast. I mean, it didn't directly lead me, but it kind of had a domino effect of things that led me to me now having this podcast called She's a Mess. It really is a play on the mess to message trope, because I believe that there are so many women out there. There are so many of us who we have messed up. We have come from bad backgrounds. We have made bad decisions. We have just done horrific things or been horrific people. And because of that, we feel like we can never ever redeem ourselves. We can never ever come back from that. We can never ever have full impact and really change the world around us because of who we have been or who we are right now. And my goal is to tell you that, hey, baby girl, I don't care who you were, who you are, where you've been, what you have done. You can still be impactful. God can still use you, and you can still change the world and change your life as well.
High fives, virtual high fives. I love Daeyna. Don't you love Daeyna? We had such a great episode, and I was like, oh yes, this is what life is about. So here we are talking on the podcast. But I'm really curious, what was required of you? Because you made a very, very big step from moving from Jamaica to Japan. Like that's a chalk and cheese thing. What was required of you? What to make that step?
I think I think for many of us, when we get to the end of our rope and there's just no more give, that is what it takes for us to really take ginormous steps of faith and stuff like that in God. Like, I got to the point where it was do or die. Literally, if I had not left Jamaica, I'm pretty sure I would have come to suicide by now. I have no doubt about it. So I had to get to a place where I was desperate to change my life for me to change my life. And I had gone through all of these things and I was crying every day and I was just completely like, where am I and why am I in this rabbit hole? How did I get from there to here? How did my fairy tale wedding become this nightmare of just despair and sadness and grief all the time? How did my life get here? And God had to bring me into the valley of the shadow of death for me to be like, oh wow, I need to get out of here. And that is what it took for me to get out, just being super desperate and willing to do just about anything that God wanted me to do to change my life,
Awesome. And now you're changing other people's lives as well. So tell us kind of a little bit more about the podcast, because we'll definitely be putting show notes and how to connect with you and everything anywhere that we hear this podcast. But tell us a little bit, like, just flesh it out a little bit more. What's the experience of listening to the She's a Mess podcast?
So for anyone listening to the She's a Mess podcast, my goal is to bring you into a place where you're like, oh my gosh, this person understands what I have been through. This person, she gets it. She gets how I feel. And what I do is I share very embarrassing and true to life mistakes from my past. Every episode that I produce personal episodes as well, which is me telling you what I have done, what mistakes I have made, and what I have learned from them so that you can be like, oh, okay, she has been there, done that. Let me help you to not go there and do that yourself. Because trust me, if you do. And I also have interview episodes, just like one with we had before, where I talk to women who have been through some stuff. Oh girl, they have been through some stuff. They have done some things. And yet, in spite of their circumstances, they have managed to come out of that. Those interview episodes I want to use to inspire women that, hey, there have been women just like you who have gone through some stuff. They have had some backgrounds. They have been prostitutes. They have been abused. They have lost their houses. They have lost their jobs. They've been divorced 10 times. They have done horrific things with their life. They have gone through horrific things, but they were able to come back from that. And because they were able to, so can I. I want to inspire women that, you know what, even if your life feels like it's a hot mess of just hurricanes and tornadoes and all these different disasters all at the same time, that you can still come back from that. And that is throughout this whole podcast. I just want people to understand that you might feel broken, but you're not broken. You are not damaged. You can still be mended. You might see nothing but damaged goods, but God sees a miracle in the making. You might see, oh my gosh, I'm just a puzzle piece of sadness and madness, but God sees a message, a story, an inspiration. And that is what I want to bring across through this podcast, that no matter who you are never too far gone, never too stupid, never too ugly, never too anything for God to use you and change your life, and then use your life to change somebody else's story.
And that's what it's about. That's what it's about. I know probably for myself and for you, it's about the lives that can be changed and the ripple effect that creates. So in your interview stories, or in your interviews, you've met with so many women who've really had to make that same decision that you made to make a change and do something different. Are there any patterns that you see around what that looks like, or what was required for them to finally, make a change, make a decision, and step into something completely different?
I think after listening to about 100 or so stories, I have realized that for women, for any person really, you have got to be desperate. You really have got to get to a place where you're like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be in this mess anymore. I can't be in this situation anymore for you to want to change your life. I feel like, and I've realized that if we have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way down to Z and more, that we're never going to be able to really do anything because we have backups. We have other things that we can fall back on. Like, for example, I had this coworker who she worked for this company that I was working for years. And she always complained, oh my gosh, Daeyna, I hate this job. This job is just bringing me nowhere. I am sad and all these different things. But whenever I ask her, so are you going to quit? Are you going to do something? You know what? No, I'm comfortable because, if anything doesn't work out, I can always do this, I can always do that. And because of that, she stayed in this job for like 20 plus years because she was comfortable and she had a fallback plan. Me, on the other hand, I was like, you know what? I have nothing. If I don't leave this job, I have nothing else that I can fall back on. So I need to start looking right now. And that gave me the drive to really look for other opportunities and to leave. So if you have all of these fallback plans, you will never be brave enough and you will never be desperate enough to change your life. If even Jesus' disciples in the Bible, if they had fallback plans, they would have never followed him. They would have never taken the steps and the risks it took to be a disciple. So I believe that all the women that I have encountered had to have gotten to a place where they were like, we have no other plan. We have no other choice but to change our lives. And if you want to change your life, I'm telling you, most times, or 99.999% of the time, you have to get to a place where you have no other choice but to make a move in order for you to make a move.
Cool. So let's do something really cool for those of you who are listening, that know that they just need to make a change. Like, it's very obvious, it's in your face, you need to make a change, and we're showing you that you can. Daeyna's an example of that. For those of you who are listening that have some fallback plans, let's just frame that in a way that, well, how good is that plan? Like, where are you, this trajectory that you're on, if you carry on that way, how awesome is that fallback plan or not? Because that's the struggle that I come up against is, I see people and they've got stuff inside of them. They've got this thing to give, but they're living in a world that is kind of safe. It's kind of okay. They've got a lot of things that a lot of people don't have, but they're not stepping up and they're not giving their gifts to the world. So for those of you who do have that little backup plan, let's just say, well, how awesome is that? Are you going to carry on that trajectory, or listen to this little voice inside of you that's asking you for something else? And it doesn't always have to be chalk or cheese. It can be like, what's the first step? And start turning that ship around. For some people, it's a 180. You got to do something quick and you got to do it now. For other people, like, let's turn that ship around and let's point you in a direction that's really going to satisfy your soul and inspire a bunch of other people. What do you think?
I actually agree. I think that there are many people out there that I have met, there's people I have encountered that they have these gifts, they have these things that God is like, girl, you need to do this, boy, you need to do this. But they're like, you know what? My life is pretty safe right now. My life is pretty comfortable. But when you look back over your life, the next 10, 25 years, if you're on your deathbed, as morbid as that might be, what do you want people to say you did? Like, what kind of impact do you want people to say you had? Do you want people to say, like, oh, Daeyna, she led a pretty comfortable life. She was pretty safe, she was nice, but she didn't really did anything out of the box? Or do you want people to say, hey, this girl saved my life. This hug that she gave me completely transformed my existence. This message that she sent me on Facebook was the message that prevented me from committing suicide. What do you want people to say about your life when it's over? Because I think the real measure of a person is what impact they leave after they're gone. I mean, yeah, you might be alive and you might be living comfortably, but how happy will you be at the end of your life when you look back and realize you never really did anything? You never really helped anybody. You never really impacted any lives. You never really went above what you're, currently really went above existing. Like, there's a difference between living and existing. And many of us in society right now, we are existing, but we're not living because we're not helping other people. We're not impacting lives. We're not moving outside of our comfort zones enough for us to do anything. And that is not living to me. I have made plenty of risks in my life. I have had failures. Trust me, I'm the queen of failure. But I have used each and every one of those failures to get me closer and closer to where God wants me to be. I mean, I know that I am on this track to produce this huge ministry, but it takes us to really get outside of ourselves and step outside of our snuggly blanket to get to where we need to go in life. And you have to take the first step. Yes, it's gonna be scary. Trust me, I have lost thousands of dollars in trying to get outside of my comfort zone. But would I ever regret it? No, because I realized that in losing all of that, in making those mistakes, in stumbling, in falling, and doing all of these different things, I have been able to help people. I've been able to impact lives I never even thought were possible 5-10 years ago. So if you really want to make an impact, think about what you're going to regret not doing instead of how scary it is to do it.
Absolutely. And there's so much gift in what you've already been through, all the hardship, all the struggle, all the failure. And, I feel like I'm the queen of failure too. So but there's so much gift and there's so much strength, and so many learnings and so much wisdom as you put yourself through that. And you didn't really have a choice. And I guess, to start with, a lot of the women that you speak to found themselves in that place. And what I want to express to anyone who's listening who's not in that place is there are riches that come along with failure, and putting yourself out there. And and it's 100% worth it. Wouldn't you agree?
I think it's 1,000% worth it. I'm gonna go as mad as saying that if you don't fail ever, you are not really living, you are not really on your way to success at all. Because if you have never failed, you don't understand what it feels like to want to give up but did not give up. You don't understand what it means to be resilient. Many people who are successful today aren't successful because things were easy for them. No, ho, 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 ho. They are successful because they were resilient in spite of these circumstances. They kept going even when they were tiptoeing because the rest of their foot was bleeding from all the times they've fallen down. Those are the people who understand what real success is. And you're never going to get to where you want to be if all they're going to be doing is being afraid of failing. It's not that big of a deal. Trust me, it isn't. From somebody who's done a lot of failing, failing is not that bad. It's actually pretty interesting. I've learned a lot, and now I'm able to use my failures and my successes to help other people, and that's pretty awesome to me.
Absolutely. And I would agree. I think, you fall down one or two times and you get a bit of a shock, and you're like, oh my God. But then when you pick yourself up and you move forwards, and you just get used to it. You just, you take your learnings, you change what you're doing, you do things a little bit different until something doesn't work. And then you fall on your face, and then you get back up and okay, well, what was that about? Change what you're doing, move forwards, fall on your face, get back up. And lo and behold, you fail your way to somewhere beautiful. So I had this question just buzzed through my mind and went out the other side. But why don't we, because one of the things I love to ask people, and I think that we've already got a window into your soul, like my skin is just alive with goosebumps watching you and listening to you. But what's a piece of music that you really love? I love when people share a piece of music that is meaningful to them, because I feel it's, it just brings us that much closer together.
Oh my gosh, see, it's really early here and my emotions are not in check right now. So if I start crying,
go for it.
I warned you.
No,
so
I'm good.
My favorite song is Mended by Matthew West. It says, if you see broken beyond repair, I see healing beyond belief. You see too far gone, I see one step away from home. You see nothing but damaged goods, I see something good in the making. You're not finished yet. Where you see broken, I see mended. Or where you see wounded, I see mended. And I'm just like, that song
I'm crying.
perfectly right? Oh my gosh, that song perfectly describes my journey, because all of my life, from ever since I was very young, I always just saw somebody who was damaged, somebody who wasn't worth anything, somebody who was just wounded beyond repair, too far gone from God to ever really come back from that. And God has shown me over my life that no matter how wounded you might feel, I have all the band-aids you will ever need. No matter how many bad decisions you've ever made, I have all the hugs and I can bring you back from that place. No matter how much you might feel like damaged goods, you have good news inside of you that I am going to bring out and to bring my glory through you. And whenever I listen to that song, it just reminds me that I can never be to anything for God to change. And even this year, God has proven to me that redemption is real. Like being transformation is real. Changing your life is real. Becoming a new person is real, because I am not who I was yesterday. I am not who I was the day before yesterday. I am not who I was 5 minutes ago, because God is constantly working in me and changing me and healing my heart and making me a better person. And that song reminds me that I should never ever see myself as anything less than what God sees me as. God sees me as a superhero. God sees me as a princess. God sees me as a queen. And I should never see myself as less than that, because even the greatest queens, even the greatest superheroes have made their mistakes, but they still go on to change people's lives. I mean, I love the MCU. I'm a big Marvel superhero fan. So when one of my favorite people is Captain America. I love Captain America. Why? When he was just a scrappy little guy who was being beaten up, his thing was, you know what? I can do this all day. And when he said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a scrappy little loser, and I can do this all day too. No matter what life throws at me, I will get up and say I can do this all day. And that song again, it just makes me really remember who I am in God, and that is more important to me than what anybody else would ever say about me.
That is beautiful. What's his last name? Matthew
West.
Matthew West. We'll make sure we put links to that everywhere we possibly can. And as I'm listening to you, my heart's swelling, your heart's swelling, and I can just feel like the energy around the globe of all the women and men who are listening to that, and their hearts swelling too, and realizing that that they too have more, or it could be more, if they're just prepared to listen and believe. Daeyna, could you tell us a few particular stories, in the interviews that you've done that really stand out as, another inspiring example of somebody turning their mess into their message?
Sure. I remember this one woman that I had, and she went from being, like a prostitute. She went from being a drug addict. She went from being all of these horrific things to now owning her own multi-million-dollar coaching firm, where she stays at home with her baby and stuff, and is still able to work from home and change lives. I've had stories where this one woman in particular, she just had a series of unfortunate events happen one after the other. She literally had a brick fall on top of her head and almost kill her. She had accidents, she had strokes, she had all of these different things, and she was still able to start her own blog and to finish her degree and to now be able to help other women who are in those situations. I know women who this one woman who she was struggling with her mental issues. She was struggling with self-esteem. She just completely had alopecia, which led her to having some serious self-esteem issues. She struggled with bullying. She just completely did not believe in who she was. She didn't even want to take pictures of herself at one point. And now she has a Mindful Galaxy blog that helps other women who are in similar situations be able to handle their anxiety, handle their depression in productive ways so that they can live a full life. And there are tons of more stories. There are stories of child brides who have managed to start organizations to help other victims of childhood marriage. There are women who have escaped from voyeurism. There are immigrants who have come here, who have come to the US or come to a new country, who did not speak English and were able to still, in spite of all of their difficulties, to graduate from college with first class degrees, who are then going on to change lives. There's stories after stories after stories on this podcast that just prove to me every single day that no matter how messy your life can be, that mess can become your message and your ministry.
Cool. So how can listeners, we'll make sure we put links everywhere we can, but just for people who are listening, how can they get in touch? How can they get some of this podcast? Like, it's clearly obvious that there's just so much more than we've got time for today. Yeah, how can listeners do that?
Well, they can go to sheisAmess.com, which is SHEISAMESS.com. They can also find me on Instagram /sheisAmessage, because it's mess to message, and on Facebook /sheisAmessage.
Cool. Thank you. And we'll, as I said, we'll make sure we've got all of those in the show notes. We haven't got too much time left, Daeyna, but what's the vision? You know, here we are now, you're already changing lives, women are changing lives, the ripple effect is real, but where to from here?
Oh my gosh, I have so many dreams and hopes for this, because like I said, I know that God is building a huge worldwide ministry. So what I want to do is I want to build a worldwide community of women who are using their stories, using their circumstances to change other people's lives. I want to build a nonprofit organization that helps people who are still stuck in their mess to get themselves out of it by learning skills and by going using trades and stuff like that to help them to build a better life for themselves. I'm looking to do conferences where I go for, she goes forward, or she changes her from mess to ministry. I want to help women who are still in that stage, to give them practical steps to get from where they are right now to where they want to be. I want to write books. I want to help them, to give them a taste of what my life has been, and help them to get through their own journeys and see the own messages that have been hidden in their various circumstances to get them to where they want to be. Oh girl, I could talk all day about all the goals and dreams that I have for my life, but my main goal right now is to grow an audience, of faithful, engaged women who believe in themselves, or who are believing themselves through their circumstances, so that we can grow and build together.
So let's ask our audience, everyone who's listening, who's been touched today by Daeyna's message, who knows other people in their lives that will be touched by Daeyna's message, to share this episode with them. It's the tiniest, teeniest action that has a massive, massive ripple effect. And I've got goosebumps again. You can't see it here, but I'm just covered in shivers. I think anyone listening it'll be so obvious why I feel so deeply touched and honored to have you here on the show today, and that we have not seen by any means the last of Daeyna Jackson, and that there is so much of a bigger world that is being created by her stepping into her power, living her dream, knowing her truth, and being fearless and courageous. So Daeyna, thank you so much for sharing that with us today. I know you've inspired many people. You've inspired me. You're a true gift. Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. And you are right. You have only seen the beginning of me. You haven't seen the last. So I am super excited to see what God has in store for me. I know that 2020 is going to be a year where my mind is going to be blown by what he's been doing. And I just can't wait. I'm expectant.
Cool. All right. So one final message, if you have like one or two sentences just to leave people with today, what would that be?
Number one, you are never too anything to change your life and your future. And two, keep going even when it feels like stopping is the best option you have. Because trust me, stopping is not the best option you have.
Boom. And with that, we'll finish the episode. Daeyna, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Everyone listening, just go get some more of Daeyna. Like, you need to, obviously. Isn't she wonderful? All right, see you guys.